Order up! What is up? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Order Up Podcast. Of course, I'm Terry Williams. Thank you so much for clicking on this episode and hanging out with me for a little bit. So, this episode, I wanted to talk about New Mutants. The movie came out earlier this year in 2020. It actually just came out available to rent and buy and stuff like that. You can buy it on Blu-ray and rent it and, all that good stuff. So, if I got a chance to see it, I rented it on Google TV. I want to check it out. Again, I'm a big comics fan, X-Men fan, things like that. So, I want to check it out. Since the movie's been in kind of development, like production hell for like 3 or 4 years. So I wanted to check it out. And I think one of the things about the movie was people have been like, panned it, hasn't gotten the best reviews, even has like a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm like, oh, like, I thought the movie was going to be like completely unbearable and unwatchable. The movie's not that bad. It's actually a pretty okay, decent movie for it was supposed to be, as it's supposed to be like the first in a trilogy of like New Mutant movies. It's not bad. I think one of the things I was talking to my uncle and my mom. One of the things that I think really set the movie back was they kind of marketed it as like this horror movie, and it was going to like have these horror aspects and things like that. And it really wasn't too much horror. Like it was. I mean, it should have just been a New Mutants origin story. That's basically what it was. That's just how they marketed it, because they kind of made it sound like it was gonna be like really scary and have all these like really horror like elements and things like that. And I'm like, it didn't really come off like that. I think that's why I didn't really see a lot of reviews for it, but I think that's why it probably came off kind of weird. I follow Emergency Awesome on YouTube, and Charlie was even saying it felt like a CW TV show, which is hilarious because it does. Because it's more lighthearted, scary than like blood and guts horror, make you really really jump scary. But the movie as a whole isn't bad. Like it's just there are some things maybe, but it's very light because again, it's supposed to be like an origin story. It's supposed to be kind of tell these stories of how these five, kind of these five teenagers, they're the new mutants, quote unquote, and just kind of how they develop a kind of a bond and how to get out of their situation. Also, I was really kind of because I wasn't sure if the movie they were going to say the word mutants, because when you have like certain titles of movies, they may or may not like say the title in the movie and stuff like that. But they actually say mutants. Not only do they say new mutants, Dr. Reyes, she actually says new mutants. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. They even mention the mutants. They mention mutants. They mention power. They mention the X-Men. They kind of hit some of these things. Oh, that's kind of cool. There actually is this one part in the movie where the characters are talking, and they're like, oh, because Dr. Reyes always says, like, oh yeah, like my employers, I'm trying to make sure you guys are healthy and ready. You guys can kind of move on to the next stage with my employers. So everybody kind of thinks, oh man, she's talking about the X-Men, and they're like, we can't be X-Men, but actually, if you know in the comics, all the New Mutants from the movies actually they do become X-Men in some point in time. So the movie follows your kind of our point character is Danny Moonstar. Her reservation gets wiped out. She's the surviving member. She wakes up in this hospital, with Dr. Reyes, and because Danny she hasn't figured out what her powers are. So the movie's kind of figuring out what Danny's powers are. If you follow the comics, you kind of know what they are. I wasn't 100% sure. I knew she had psych powers, but I wasn't sure what they actually were. You get to meet the other characters. You meet Rain, aka Wolfsbane in the comics. You meet Ileana, aka Magic, Sam, who is Cannonball. You meet Roberto, who is Sunspot, I believe. So those like our five protagonists, and they all have their cages, because the movie's basically about them dealing with their past, overcoming it, and them kind of coming together to defeat this evil kind of towards the end. I feel like they should have marketed the movie like that, kind of facing your past and facing kind of your inner demons to kind of overcome this cage, because kind of the movie has this emphasis on cages where every character has like a cage that they're in. Like Danny has to deal with the death of her family. Also, spoiler alert, I should have said this in the early beginning, but make sure spoiler alert, there'll be spoiler alert like in the title and stuff like that. But yeah, but make sure it's spoiler alert. But like everybody has a cage. I think it should have been like conquering your cage or escaping your cage or something like that. That should have been what the movie marketed around, because every character deals with this cage. Danny has the death of kind of her father and her reservation getting wiped out. Sam deals with him accidentally killing his dad and the other miners that they worked with, and the other miners on his dad's team, back in his hometown in Kentucky. He deals with that. Roberto deals with his powers where, I guess him and his girlfriend were together. He got too hot and he burned her alive. And Magic deals with being attacked by these people called like the Smiley Face or the Smiley Man or something like that. She has like these nightmares when she was young. And so she kind of deals with that. So they all have these things that they're doing. Even Dr. Reyes, she kind of deals with the cage of always being watched by her employer. Which later on in the movie, you figure out who they are, and this was a bigger kind of comic book Easter egg. So yeah, I think that should have been that. It should have been like escaping your cage, and even the facility as a whole. Dr. Reyes has them encased in like this dome type cage or whatever, like a force field around the whole facility, so you can't escape. So there's a lot of and Rain has to deal with the fact like of her when she like became a wolf or whatever, her power. Like the priest like beat her, threatened to kill her and stuff like that. So they all have these things in their past that they're all kind of dealing with these cages, these very personal cages. I think if if the movie explored more of their cage and that was the marketing part, the marketing like piece, the focus of the marketing of the movie, I think they would have done somewhat better. But they focus on like this horror aspect. It wasn't that scary. There are like these parts where people start seeing things, and you learn later in the movie that that's Danny's power. Her power is like to project these illusions of your greatest fears or your wishes and stuff like that, and they're not real. And so anytime Danny's asleep or she was like injected with drugs by Dr. Reyes when she was doing her studies, quote unquote, Danny's powers would activate, and it took a while before they kind of figured it out. Ileana actually figures it out, who's also the best character in the movie by far. Just her personality, like she's kind of she's excuse my language, she's a bitch in the movie. Like she's just the teenage, the mean girl in all like teenage movies, which is kind of weird. I thought that was kind of a weird portrayal of her. She might really be like that in the comics, but it seemed very unnecessary to be mean to Danny because it's like she just got there. Like she hasn't done anything. No one knows much about her. Like, why are you being a bitch to her? I felt like that was kind of weird. And of course, as the movie goes on, they kind of become cool. Like they kind of, they don't become necessarily friends, but they kind of work it out. They become, they have like a working relationship. They're fine. Rain and Danny, they become really close. So close they become an item in the movie. And Sam and Roberto are pretty cool. But they're just kind of boys. They're the only two guys in the movie, so they kind of bro it out. But yeah, and you just kind of go through their life in this, in this facility. And Danny's the one who slowly starts to kind of figure out like what the facility they're in, because Dr. Reyes is saying, oh, it's like a hospital to, to help you teach you control and get better and things like that. But Danny's starting this like as the movie goes on, as she's like getting drugged and stuff, going through her tests, she starts to see flashes from like the facility, and she gets to see like the other mutants that were in this facility, the other kids, and what they're doing with them and things like that. So she gets to kind of start seeing these things through her powers, which she still doesn't learn how to control. So she starts to see it, because to realize it's not this isn't a hospital to help them. It's someplace worse. They're trying to turn them into weapons and things like that. And so the team kind of starts figuring it out. I like Sam. aka Cannonball. His character's pretty okay. You don't get to see him use his powers a whole lot. You get to see him you don't really get to see everyone use their powers a lot. Danny kind of used her powers the most, I think, in the movie, because just you don't really know what they are. They just kind of happen sporadically. Rain uses her little wolf ability. She turns it. You don't see her transform. There's parts where she is a wolf, then she's not a wolf, so you don't get to see her transform. But then later on in the movie, she does do kind of more of the transformation. You can see the hair, her eyes, and things like that. You see Magic's powers a lot. She probably has some of the best looking powers between Magic and Cannonball. Have like the best special effects and what they do. And Cannonball is Sam. I'm gonna be switching between their names and their Marvel movie and their actually comic book aliases, because I just kind of know their comic book names. But yeah, but they have like some of the best special effects. Roberto, aka Sunspot, he does his powers a little bit, and then towards the end, he's when he lets them out like fully. But you don't get to see a lot of his, but I think it's kind of a shame, because I think Sunspot actually looks pretty cool in the comics when you see his powers. So thought we were going to see more of Sunspot. Also, one disappointing thing is they really promoted Demon Bear a lot. Like Demon Bear is really just like entity that's after Danny, and just kind of like he becomes the protagonist in the movie, but not really. Really, Dr. Reyes is the protagonist in the movie, not the protagonist, the antagonist. I'm sorry. So the trailer makes it seem like Demon Bear is like the antagonist. Like he's this thing that's like following them, and he's like over the facility. He's like, because he has psychic abilities where he can like control people and things like that, control their fears and stuff like that. So they made it seem like Demon Bear was like, okay, this big grand antagonist, like this is the bad guy, but really Demon Bear really wasn't that bad. Really, Dr. Reyes was really the antagonist for most of the movie, for the majority of the movie. And then Demon Bear just kind of pops up at the end because Demon Bear is Danny's biggest fear. And so Demon Bear, kind of is going after Danny to get her because that's her biggest fear. And so, yeah, so I think they used Demon Bear kind of wrong. They kind of set it up where you thought it was going to be like the big bad, but it's not. It was kind of disappointing. It was like another just kind of where the movie kind of falls flat because you see the trailers and you're like, okay, maybe it'll be more with Demon Bear. It's not. It's very kind of it's like a smoke screen. Demon Bear's only really in the movie like the last maybe 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, and that's kind of it. So which is kind of sad. I thought Demon Bear was gonna have a bigger part of the movie, like a bigger piece of the story, and it's not really that big of a piece, which is kind of a bummer. You have like this final fight scene with all of them trying to fight Demon Bear, but then Danny, she's kind of knocked out. She wakes up, she's able to talk to it, calm it down, and it kind of goes away. So it's kind of weird. The movie ends that kind of weird. The ending to the movie's okay, but the final fight scene is really lacking. We thought it was gonna be like this bigger fight, maybe more. Maybe we get to see like Danny maybe manifest another psych power, but nah, it just kind of falls flat. I think that's another word. The movie just kind of falls flat. It's not bad, but the movie just kind of falls flat in certain areas, in certain aspects of it. Like the camaraderie between the team is pretty cool when they like sneak off to the attic and hang out and do like a lot of tech there. And there's some fun moments, like Rain and Danny there. Their budding relationship when they're laying on the grass, and because it's raining outside, but it was raining outside the bubble, like the dome force field, it changed and turns red, and they kind of have this moment together. There's some actually some cool moments. We see Sam and Roberto like hanging out, like racing or pushing each other in a wheelchair. There's some fun camaraderie moments, but it's just not. It just doesn't quite. It just kind of falls flat in some areas. Like you do get this really cool uh, Easter egg where Danny's taking like her or after Danny had like this really big psychic outburst, and so Dr. Reyes like she sends these emails back and forth to her employer, quote unquote. We don't know who it is, but this towards the end of the movie she gets emails like, hey, she's extremely dangerous, blah blah blah, psychotic powers, Terminator. So Dr. Reyes is informed by her employer to kill Danny, and you get the reveal that she actually works for the Axis Corporation, which is a big evil corporation in the Marvel universe, which means I think Axis is also in Venom. I think it's Venom. I want to say I'm pretty sure of it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Axis Corporation is in Venice. Is in Venom. I think the Axis Corporation is also in Marvel Runaways. Or no, it's Cloak and Dagger. I think Axis is also in Cloak and Dagger, the Hulu TV show. So like Axis is like a big corporation in the Marvel universe. So that was a cool like Easter egg. Like, oh, so she actually works for the bad guy. Not, the X-Men and Professor X, but she's actually really, really bad. Which is what kind of gives you the hint. So then she tries to kill Danny, and that kind of sets off the final piece of the movie with everyone kind of using their powers here and there, and magic, which is really cool. Where Ileana or Magic, she uses her power, she puts on her armor, grabs her sword, she goes into limbo, which is the little area you see that she teleports in and out of. Lockheed, which is her pet dragon that you see throughout the movie, which is like kind of like her calming essence, if you will. Like it's something that calms her, something of her childhood. Is actually, so I don't know. They didn't really explain. So I'm not sure if Lockheed is a real dragon that's like in limbo and stuff, or is it a figment of her imagination? Because you only see Lockheed in physical form at the end when she fights Demon Bear. So I'm not sure if, because Demon Bear is there and Demon Bear is Danny's like worst fear, so Danny can produce your greatest wishes and stuff like that. I'm not sure if that was Danny giving Ileana something that she really, really likes, because she's probably always wanted Lockheed to be real, so she makes him real. Like I'm not sure. That was kind of confusing. Like I'm not sure if Lockheed is really a real dragon, or if it's a figment of Ileana's imagination, which is what I'm leaning more towards. And since she was like constantly jumping in and out of limbo, using her powers and stuff, and fighting Demon Bear, Lockheed just might have been a manifestation of Ileana through Danny, which is what I'm expecting. But yeah, by the end of the movie, they get together. Dr. Reyes kept telling them that there was a town, but it was like 20 miles away. Since Dr. Reyes was killed by Demon Bear, she's gone, which means the force field is gone. So our heroes are all together, and they decide to walk to this town. That's where the movie ends. Excuse me. It says on the movie there wasn't a post credit or mid credit scene, but the movie is supposed to be like the beginning of a 3 part of of a trilogy. And that's kind of how the movie ends. Like you see our 5 heroes get together and they just walk to this town. That's how the movie ends. So the movie's not bad. It does fall flat in certain areas. There was some mismarketing, some misleading. I think with the marketing was really why the movie doesn't do so well. I think the acting as a whole wasn't too bad. Like everyone kind of portrayed their characters really well. Macy Williams from Game of Thrones, she was Rain. I think she did like a really good job of just being super endearing and like you kind of feel bad for like you just like I think Rain was just a character that you kind of lean towards outside of with Danny. But then Sam was also pretty endearing. After you understand like Roberto's past, because at first he's a dick, but you realize he killed his girlfriend by mistake, and he's really shaken up about that. So he's just kind of you grow to him like later on, and of course Ileana, who's supposed to be like the mean girl in the group, but you start to like feel her too. You start to really like her and understand her too. The movie's okay. It's not too bad. Like I thought it was gonna be like unwatchable and unbearable, but it was like an hour and 30 minutes, I believe. It's like I think like 90 minutes, 94 minutes, I believe. So it's not bad. It's not a bad movie to rent and watch or stream somewhere, or just get a chance to do that. It's not too bad. I actually really enjoyed it. I kind of want to see another one, but I'm not sure gonna do that since this was like the final Fox movie before the Marvel merger, and Marvel just let them finish it out. So we'll see what happens. But it's an okay movie. I would say checking out. Like if you can find it, if you wait till it comes on, you don't have to rent it now. If you can stream it online for free, or you can wait till it comes on syndication on like FX or TNT or something. Watch it there. It's not bad. It's really not a bad movie, but it just I think lack of it was in production hell, which hurt it. Lack of the marketing was really weird, and just some of the pay like just there was just some things where the movie just kind of fell flat. So I think that was the thing that really hurt New Mutants. But New Mutants as a whole, is it too bad? Like it's better than some of the last few X-Men movies that came out. It isn't saying a lot, but you think Deadpool 2, and maybe, X-Men, like we think about it like as a whole. I feel like Deadpool 2, the first X-Men movie, and I would actually put New Mutants right in there because the Fantastic Four movies weren't that great. The last Fantastic Four movie they did wasn't great. The last few X-Men movies. Oh no, no, First Class. So I think you go Deadpool. Okay, for me personally, Deadpool, X-Men First Class has to be like my top 2 Fox comic book movies. Like New Mutants is probably like 4th or 5th or 6th. Like it's not horrible. You can see where it like kind of dropped the ball, but it's not too bad. Oh fuck, I forgot about Logan. God damn it. So okay, so let's go because Logan was really good. Ah, shit. I think I gotta go Deadpool because I think Deadpool was a special one it did. X Men First Class. I think some people didn't like. I love First Class. First Class is really cool. So I go. Oh, do I want to do Logan? Okay, go Deadpool, Logan, X Men First Class, the first X Men movie. So that's 4, and I'll get New Mutants like 5 or 6 because really, I think New Mutants is like 5th for me. Some of the Fox movies. Oh yeah, they got the Spider-Man stuff. I think I'm just sticking with. Let's stick with just X-Men. I'm not gonna go. Let's stick with X-Men. Actually, no, because you gotta think of the Fox or the Sam Raimi stuff. Spider-Man. Yeah, they got thrown in the Spider-Man. God damn, I gotta do a list of this. Anyway, X-Men New Mutants isn't that bad. It's one of the better. So out of like the most recent things that Fox have done, it's not that bad as a whole. I was thinking like crap. I forgot about Spider Man. I forgot about Venom. I'm not gonna get into this, but because I'll be here forever. But X-Men, but New Mutants isn't too bad. It could have been better. I think if they changed the marketing, that would have helped it a ton. It just fall flat in certain areas, and because some of the trailer was actually some of the best parts of the movie, which they shouldn't have done. Like it should have been more of their origin stories. Because I think if you focus on more of their origin and talk about their cages and them dealing with the cages, and then you save like magic like action scenes were all in the trailer, and that's literally all the action scenes that were in the movie was really magic. was like what Ileana did, and a little bit of Cannonball stuff. But it wasn't a lot. So yeah, they should just focus on more the coming of age, is the origin of them figuring out Danny figuring out her powers and them kind of come from the cages. This movie would have done better in terms of marketing, but because they portrayed it as it's gonna be a horror movie, it's gonna be this and it's gonna be that, it just fell flat. So yeah, that's New Mutants. It's okay. I probably give it about a 6 out of 10, something like that, like a 6.5 out of 10. It's not horrible, but it should be a lot better. I feel like it should have been a lot better. It could have been really a really cool origin story and really telling their stories and really having that feel. But it was in production hell. They tried to get it out. They didn't. It was just a lot of stuff, and people I think just didn't really want to see it. So by the time it came out, but it's like whatever, it's okay, I guess. Anyway, that's my brief review of New Mutants. Definitely check it out. Like you don't have to necessarily buy it right now. Wait till it comes on TV, streaming for free somewhere. But I definitely say watch, especially if you're an X-Men fan or comic book fan. It's actually not horrible. You could do worse for a 90 minute, 90 minutes of your time. You could do worse. So anyway, thank you for checking out this brand new episode of the Aura Podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Of course, this is always going up through Anchor and then on everything else that's connected on Anchor. Of course, there's always a version of the podcast up on YouTube. Definitely check it out. Check out the website, www.SlicingDicingGaming.com for all things Digital Chef, my blogs, links to everything, and links to, of course, the merchandise. Always and forever, slicing, dicing, gaming. It's not just a motto, it's a lifestyle. I'll see you next podcast. Later.